Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we're gonna work with an orchid that I know some of you will be very happy to hear that I have once again in my collection, and this is a Psychopsis orchid. Now, this was one of the first species that I ever had many years ago in the balcony days, and it was really one of the most unique orchids that I've ever encountered. And for the time that I had it, it was actually a joy to grow. And please excuse those noises, Maya is not a silent eater. So back to the orchid, not only it was an easy grower, but it looked spectacular. It wasn't beautiful in the conventional orchid way, it was rather interesting. To me, it looked like a little robot or a little alien. It is said that this orchid is trying to actually imitate a butterfly. My hybrid's name is actually Mariposa, which means butterfly. I somehow think about an alien robot more than a butterfly when I see this orchid. Now, what happened to that orchid? Since it was so easy to care for, why don't I have it anymore? Well, it was lost in the big move. 4 years ago, I switched countries. My orchids were very stressed, and I also had a fusarium outbreak, which managed to completely obliterate all of my oncidium types and a few species, including this one. As easy as it was to care for and as much success as I had with it, everything was just a memory, and in the span of a few months, it deteriorated so much that there was nothing I could do for it. Now, ever since then, I did not purchase one of these orchids because they're not exactly the cheapest ones, at least not the adult ones. And I wanted an adult Psychopsis because they do tend to grow rather slow. And there's another considerant. When they produce flower spikes, it can take a little while for the spikes to grow. And not only that, you want to make sure that you do not lose these flower spikes, you do not break them on transport, because these orchids are sequential bloomers. And it is said that the flower spikes can last up to 80 years or something of the sorts. I can tell you that mine had its flower spikes for 2 or 3 years. It continuously bloomed from that flower spike. But I received it from Schroeder back in the day when Schroeder was actually packing their orchids in the best possible way that I've ever seen. Nowadays, I'm not sure if they still do that. I've had some experiences. So what I was looking for was a Psychopsis with a flower spike, but not a mature flower spike, because these guys can grow so tall. The spikes, I mean, not the orchid herself. So transporting it is an issue. It can break really easily on transport. And I saw this one for sale on eBay from one of my favorite sellers, Orchid Man, and I just had to have it. A little spoiler, I ordered this one quite a while back. Now I don't think the post offices work anymore. Here in my country, they don't. I cannot ship anything anywhere anymore for the next month or so, and I can imagine other territories are the same. So, just like in my previous video, if you want to purchase anything, do delay it a little bit, at least a month, at least until everything just kind of pipes down, because there is a chance you will not receive your orchids in time. And with orchids, time is of the essence. If they spend too much on transport, they will suffer. So that's just a little bit of a side note. I was lucky with this one. I received it before post offices kind of shut down. And I was also lucky that I managed to find a mature one with an immature flower spike. So today we are actually going to repot it. I remember when I repotted my first Psychopsis, and the Psychopsis was potted just like this, into this very solid blob of sphagnum moss. And my mom, with a pair of tweezers, removed every little bit of sphagnum moss as I was removing sphagnum moss from other orchids. But yeah, I was very sad when I lost my Psychopsis. It meant a lot to me. So let's go ahead and repot him. First and foremost, I will remove him from this pot. And one of the easiest ways in which you can remove a very solid block of sphagnum moss from these types of flimsy pots is to just push it from the bottom. And then when it's out, hey presto. And look at that, we have active roots. A little side note, there is never a good time to repot a Psychopsis because most of the time it will have a flower spike since it is a sequential bloomer. So I cannot wait for this guy to finish blooming or finish its flower spike because it might take 8 years to do so. So what we need to do is to just be very gentle with the root system, which my mom managed to be many years ago, and I will do the same. I will actually go ahead and use a pair of tweezers as well, and just take my time and remove all of this sphagnum moss. I will do this off camera so I don't bore you. I do have a tutorial on removing very compacted sphagnum moss, which can be hard to remove with your bare fingers. I'll link it to you down below. So I will cut this portion out because I want to concentrate on what I'm doing. Okay, so this is quite a while later, but I think I did a good job, and I think most of the roots are perfectly fine, which is very important with Psychopsis, particularly when they are in spike. My previous Psychopsis, when I received it, was in spike as well. The spike was taller and it did not lose any roots, any spike. Everything was perfect. Now, one thing Psychopsis love is moisture and actually sphagnum moss. So of course, my typical sphagnum moss and bark mixture will have to do just fine for this little guy. Let's check the level. I think I need a little bit more medium. And P.S. I do actually have a care tutorial for this orchid. I will link it to you down below. Now, just like with other sympodial orchids, I will try to make sure that the oldest part is closer to the edge of the pot, while the newest part is towards the middle. Not that these guys grow very fast, but they will reach the edge of the pot eventually. And there we have him all done. My sphagnum moss was a little bit dry, but I was too lazy to wet it. You can work with dry sphagnum moss, it's just not as easy, it's not as flexible. So now fingers crossed that the flower spike will continue to grow. I actually don't think it will stop. I don't think anything bad will happen to it, but hey, you never know. And as a side note, this one is the original color, the orange with yellow or brown with yellow, but there is a variety which is yellow with white. It's practically an alba variety. I was thinking to buy that one, but for whatever reason, that one is always a little bit more expensive. So I never got the chance, but this will do. This looks exactly like my original one. It's the Mariposa, and I really cannot wait for it to bloom. This will stay in my grow space. It's not going outside because I don't think it's gonna be able to handle the heat. And before I let you go, a few more words on the Psychopsis. For a while, it used to be an oncidium. And to be quite frank, it does share a lot of traits with oncidiums. Well, maybe apart from visuals. But care-wise, it really does prefer pretty much the same things as an oncidium. As I was saying, it's not very hard to grow, it likes things warm, but it also enjoys a lot of moisture in the pot. So I would not let this guy be bone dry for way too long. You will notice that the pseudobulbs, even though they're kind of tiny, they will start to shrivel if it becomes very, very dry. The flower spike typically doesn't need staking, but you can stake it. Mine wasn't staked, or it was. I really don't remember. I think I wanted to maintain it straight, so that's why I staked it, but it's not going to become pendant, as far as I know, depending where the light source is coming from. But we'll see. Mine was already with its flower spike fully grown when I received it, so it's going to be interesting to see how this flower spike will grow, if it's going to become pendant or not. But all the pictures you find on the internet shows these guys with a very straight flower spike. So it might lean, but it's not going to do that cascade that Phalaenopsis do, but it might lean a little bit. So I'll keep you up to date. Who's happy that we're gonna make Psychopsis videos yet again? Well, you know how they say, there is a good time for everything. I'm sure that the saying was a little bit different than that, but I don't remember it. And well, what can I say? It is the time for the Psychopsis once again. P.S. Some Psychopsis actually have mottled leaves. It's not the case with this guy. I think the Kalihi, I think that's how it's called. I think that one has mottled leaves. This one, no. It's supposed to be green. It has a few specks, but nothing like Paphiopedilums, let's say. The Kalihi actually looks very, very nice, but it's not very popular here in Europe. We have the Mariposa Green Valley, I see. So there is a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of variety on the market, but most Psychopsis will look like this. And if you've made it so far into the video, then it means you are a very dedicated viewer. Thank you very much for sticking around to the end. And as a little bonus for being here, I want to announce my new Discord server. I just started it. I think it's a great idea to connect and chat through Discord. So down below in the description, you will find an invitation link. There are already over 100 people there, which is wow. We tested it out a bit, it looks okay. Things will improve as we go, so if you're interested to chat, you can find my server linked down below. I'll make a separate video about it in the future, but you are free to join right at this moment. Okay, back to the video. Alrighty, so with that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Very exciting videos to come this week. So make sure that you are subscribed. You will be notified of all of my new videos. I post very often. Check out my second channel, MissOrchidGirl too. And also visit my Instagram and Facebook and follow me there as well. It's always nice to stay in touch there. And with that said, I'll see you next time. Bye.